Live from PATV Studios, it's the Lyle Style Show. And now, the man with the most style, it's your host, Lyle Style.
Oh, welcome here again for another edition of the Lyle Style Show. Welcome everybody to the show. I have a wonderful guest, special guest here. This is election time. Election year is coming up in June. So I have a beautiful person. She's the present Johnson County attorney for Johnson County. Her name is Janet Lyness. She's here on my show. I want to welcome you to the show. Ms. Lyness, thank you for coming. Thanks for being here, because I know you are real busy this year doing every prosecuting, and we talked a little bit about what you've been doing and whatnot, and you're a superwoman.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for the show and coming down, and like always, I ask my guests a little bit about background. So I want to look a little bit about your background. Where are you from originally? And
That's a really good question. Actually, I was born in Indiana, but I only lived there for 3 months, and then we moved back to Pennsylvania, which is where both my parents are from. We moved from Pennsylvania to California, back to Pennsylvania, to Arkansas, back to Pennsylvania, to Iowa, to Tennessee, to Iowa, and then after I graduated from high school, my parents moved back to Pennsylvania, and I moved to Iowa City to go to college and haven't left.
You haven't left? Wow, what a trip! Boy, you've been back and forth from the East Coast to the West. Yes. And wow, so you grew up in the East Coast.
Kind of, some in Pennsylvania, some in Iowa, some in Tennessee.
Okay.
Went to high school in Bettendorf, Iowa.
Oh, Davenport.
Yes.
The Quad Cities.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So what do you? Okay, I want to ask you then. What is your best place that you've been to? That you know, is it here, Iowa, or is it back east, or?
I have to say I love the mountains in East Tennessee, because we lived right outside of the Smoky Mountains, and it's just a beautiful area. But I love Iowa City. I've been here for 37 years, chose to stay here, want to be here. I just think it's a great place to live. Wow. I enjoy Pennsylvania. It's another beautiful state, but Iowa City is where I want to be.
Amen. And everybody loves you here too. And okay, what about the West Coast? Because you live in California.
I was pretty young, and so I don't have a whole lot of memories of West Coast. I think a lot more people out there. I kind of like having a little more space to spread out. So
yeah. So okay, and so now getting back, this like it says election year, and okay, now what is question I want to ask you too. Here's a little note. Okay, you're running for re-election. So what is your platform? What are you running on?
I'm running on basically, there's several different things. One is that I think it's a really important job, and I want to make sure whoever is county attorney has the experience and the commitment really to being the county attorney. The county attorney, I think there's 3 to 5 pages in the Iowa Code about the responsibilities of county attorney. Everything from advising township trustees, the board of supervisors, to prosecuting criminal cases for the state and for the county. So it's really making sure that we have the experience and the dedication to that position. I've also, in the last 8 years, started a variety of different programs that address some of the concerns in the criminal justice system, try to figure out ways to deal with some of the problems that lead to people being in the criminal justice system, and I really want to continue and expand upon those. Some of those include, I worked with the group that put together the drug treatment court, which is, if you've heard about that, it is. Yes. It's a very wonderful program, and it helps people who have really serious substance abuse problems and possibly also some mental health issues to get the treatment, get the help, and the support really that they need to get their lives back together and to be able to be productive members of society. And I really want to make sure that that continues. There's been issues about funding, and I think we have funding for next year, but I really want to push and make sure that that continues. Yes. I actually was in the drug treatment court, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, and a woman was sitting next to me, and she turned to me and said, "My son is in drug treatment court, and I want to thank you because I have my son back." Wow. It was one of those where you kind of get goosebumps when she said that, but she said it's made such a difference to my son, having the support and the help that he needed, that's really gotten his life back together. So he's not in jail, he's not in prison, he's got his life back together. So that's one of the programs that helped start that we run. I've also started like the DUS court, or we call it rocket docket, although it actually kind of slows down things, not makes it faster, but it's helping people get their driver's license back when they've lost it because of not paying fines. And we work with them and get a plan of payment, and then if they get their license back, then we can dismiss the driving under suspension charge, so they're not not looking at a longer suspension. And it's really helped so many people actually negotiate how do they get their license back. And so we have somebody from Department of Transportation there in court to tell them this is what you have to do to get a valid license.
Wow.
And it's been very popular, very successful. I'm real pleased with that, and we want to continue that.
You've been doing that for a while, for a few years.
Yes, for probably 4 or 5 years, I think, and it's really great to see how many people we've been able to help, because what happens if you get too many driving suspension convictions, Department of Transportation will bar your license, and then people are looking at going to prison.
Oh,
and I'd be much happier if we got people, get those fines paid off, get them a valid license, keep them out of the criminal justice system in the future. And so that's been very good. Started the marijuana diversion program so that we can, and what that is we look at people who are charged with possession of marijuana. Basically, they get a substance abuse evaluation, because some people do have a serious substance abuse problem. It may not be marijuana, it may be alcohol, it may be meth, it may be other things. But get them to deal with that. And basically pay the court costs, provide a clean urine analysis, and then we dismiss the marijuana charge.
Wow.
So it's a way of
keeping,
it's a way of keeping people from getting farther into the criminal justice system, keeps them from losing scholarships or other things if they're a university student, because there's a lot of federal rules that requires the university to have basically a zero tolerance policy. So they feel like they have to charge for marijuana, they have to make those arrests, they have to deal with those consequences. And this is one thing I can do to try to help people make sure that they don't get into a bigger problem in the future. So
that's a wonderful program, man.
Yeah.
Trying to get people not in the prison, get them help they needed,
right?
And so they can go on their way, be productive people in society.
Yes,
which is a beautiful thing.
Right. Another one I'll tell you about that has been very successful as well is we don't have an official name, but I call it Jail Alternatives or Jail Populations Meeting.
Yeah.
And I have one of my assistants who meets every week with somebody from the jail, somebody from the Public Defender's Office, so the defense bar, somebody from Jail Alternatives, which is a social worker hired by the Sheriff's Office to work with people who are in the criminal justice system who have mental health or substance abuse problems and helps them get treatment. And so this group, and we also now include a judge too, this group meets every Monday at 11 o'clock, and we review everybody who's in jail. We just go down the list to see, is there somebody in there who really doesn't have to be in jail anymore? They're not going to be a danger to society if they're out. They're likely to show up in court, whatever it is. Do they need substance abuse or mental health treatment? And we can get them into that program so they can be safely out in the community. And if they meet that, then we get the judge who's right there to agree to release them in their own recognizance or release them to supervision so they can be meeting with Jail Alternatives or probation, parole, so we can get people out of the jail and get them back into the community quicker.
Right.
And that's been very successful. So originally when we started it about 3 years ago, around that, there was an average daily population in the jail of 164 inmates. And we brought it down, I saw today it was 127.
Now you brought it down,
yes. So it's kind of, not a lot of prosecutors are probably out there to, stop convictions like with the marijuana diversion or try to get people out of jail, but that's one of the things we do here. The other thing is we've started a family treatment court for our juvenile cases where we have families where there has been a child removed from the home because of the parent's substance abuse problem, so that they can't safely have their child in their home. And we do kind of the same thing as the drug treatment court, where we provide them really a lot of support, a lot of supervision, make sure that they're getting to their substance abuse appointments, make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do to be able to get their children removed safely to their home. And so it's a way of kind of expediting getting their children safely back into their home, but with the support that they need to really accomplish changes in their lifestyle that are going to let them be safe parents.
Wow.
And that's been exciting to do too.
Yeah, that's another good program. So people don't realize you have a lot of things on your agenda that you're doing to better Iowa City and the Johnson County area and doing some positive things for the community, which is a wonderful thing, which people need to hear that type of stuff. They need to know that, you or the county attorney of Johnson County, this is what you're doing, this is your agenda, this is what you're about, and you're about helping people. Regardless,
Right. And I haven't even mentioned some of the things that I've been working on really since even before I went to law school, are working on kind of violence against women in particular, but violent crimes. And
it's a prevalent here. You think it's a more it's a worse out here in this county because it's a college town, more so than like a little city like Des Moines or Waterloo or Cedar Rapids or what?
I think because of the population, the age population we have in Johnson County, we probably have a higher rate of sexual assault than we do in other places in the state of Iowa. I think domestic violence, probably about the same around the state, but it certainly is an issue that we have to deal with. So even before going to law school, I was a volunteer with Domestic Violence Intervention Program and on their board. I was one of the advocates for the Rape Victim Advocacy Program, and so would meet with victims and work with them. So after I finished law school and started working at the county attorney's office, I got on the board, and I was on the board for the Rape Victim Advocacy Program for years. That's always been kind of a passion for me, and that's when for the first 7-8 years when I was doing primarily prosecution for the county, I was focused on violent crimes.
Okay.
So I did many of the sex abuse cases, I did most of the domestic abuse cases, in addition to robbery, murder, burglary, all of those things too. In the last few years, I've been working with the U of I Anti-Violence Coalition, which has been really trying to address having different policies and procedures at the university to deal with the sexual assault that we're seeing on campus. And unfortunately, some high-profile cases have brought to light, some of the problems at the university, and some statements were made. The positive side, if somebody who always tries to make lemonade out of lemons,
that's right.
is try to recognize that it's good that people are recognizing that there is an issue on sexual assault. People often don't want to talk about sexual assault. They don't want to deal with that issue. But fortunately, because of kind of what we've seen in our community, people are talking about it again and recognizing that we need to have services for victims. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to assist them, whether it's through university policies or whether it's in the community. I work a lot with law enforcement to make sure that people are well trained. In around 2000, I'm trying to remember exactly when we started it. We started the sexual assault response team for Johnson County, where we trained sexual assault nurse examiners to do the exams at both Mercy and University Hospital. And we have it set up so if somebody is sexually assaulted and they go to the hospital, one, it's a free exam. It's performed by a sexual assault nurse examiner who has been trained specifically to do these exams and been trained on, what is the trauma associated with sexual assault, so they can help provide that. So we have an advocate there from Rape Victim Advocacy Program, a trained nurse. Law enforcement is learning how to respond appropriately, make sure that they are, collecting the evidence and working with the victims, and then have it tied into our office so that we can successfully prosecute those cases. But that's been a really good program, and I've been doing the training since we started on that, not only for law enforcement, but also for the sexual assault nurse examiners. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to have another 30 nurses go through the training, and I'll be helping train the sexual assault nurse examiners on dealing with sexual assault cases. So that's kind of an area that I've been working on, working with the university, continuing to work with them on their policies and procedures has been a really good thing, and I want to continue that on as well. I want to make sure that the office does focus on violent crime and making sure we're doing what we can for victims too. So that's, as I go forward and look at my next term in office, that would be certainly a priority.
Oh man. You can't get, you know what? You can't get no better than that right there. I mean, all your programs you have are really valid programs and really good programs, and something that has put a light in my eye that you tell me about. I mean, really with sexual assault and victims, and you're trying, to stop that and really make sure that the victims are really know that they can get help, that they can come to get help. And you got people that can give them help and make sure that they're taken care of, which is a good thing. It's just college towns it's just so much of a stigma when a woman says no, it means no, whether it be a friend or acquaintance or somebody she just met.
That's right.
So no means no, and it goes also with guys, because sometimes we don't talk about it. Sometimes guys get sexual assault, whatever. It's not often, but it happens. Knows means knows between anybody. I don't care who it is. So I mean, I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing, and you got these programs in place in Johnson County, and wow, just keep up what you're doing on that. I appreciate that. I just want now getting back to this. Now, what is your take on? Because we talked a little bit about they passed this bill about cannabis, whatever they, that for people that got epilepsy, something like that. That they could, they can, get this to help them with their. So do you see down in the future about maybe, because California, I mean, not California, but Colorado, you know, is legal over there. But what do you take on that as far as maybe, if you think it's ever be legal here down the line, few 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line? I mean, this is a Republican state, so to speak, but what do you think about that?
Well, I think starting the discussion this year on medical marijuana.
Yeah, medical marijuana. Yes,
I think in some ways people were surprised at how much support there was, and the fact that even some small bill dealing with medical marijuana passed in the legislature, and I haven't heard. I haven't heard. I think it's been passed or signed by the governor, although I don't know for sure.
I think it's been passed, but I guess the governor has to sign it.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And I think that's something that it's really good to have that discussion at the legislative level, because that's something that people do have different views on, and it really does need to be discussed. So I'm glad to see that that's a start. I do think that there are, clearly there are different kinds of drugs out there that have very beneficial effects for medicinal purposes, and making them available for people that it's going to help is really important. So certainly the medical marijuana discussion and the fact that it's getting so much support is very important. On use of marijuana, I mean, I think that that's something that's starting to be discussed at the Iowa legislature. I suspect it's going to be discussed in a variety of different states too in upcoming years. I mean, I think the Board of Supervisors, actually, one of their positions papers was of things that they wanted the legislature to deal with was decriminalizing marijuana.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's, so people are looking at that issue. I think it's something that needs to be discussed at the legislative area. Certainly we still have other issues with marijuana, the same with alcohol, that driving while under the influence is still a problem, and that needs to be addressed, and we need to make sure that whatever law passes recognizes the problems that can come from that.
Exactly.
But certainly that discussion is ongoing, and our own Senator Joe Bolcom in the legislature is somebody who worked very hard on getting the medical marijuana and continuing that discussion on, and I think he'll continue working on that. Okay, good.
Wow. You that answered my question like a pro. I mean, I appreciate that. I really appreciate doing that. And okay. Also, like Iowa is starting to become a melting pot of a state, and Johnson County is a melting pot, and I think Johnson County is the most liberal county in the state, as far as people-wise and everything, and with the growing population of different minorities and that type of thing, and even though minorities are kind of smaller in the state, like 3% of the whole state. What do you think about the problems with majority, like it's more people in the prison system, whatever, that's of minority, and it's less minorities in the state.
Right.
How can we address that? Or what do you?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing to bring up, because that's actually one of the things I really want to continue working on and expand in my next term too. It's a nationwide problem.
It is a nationwide problem.
Disproportionate minority contact and everything from the federal systems, the state systems, and everything. It's something that definitely needs to be addressed. As you know, it's not an easy solution where we can say, oh, we're going to snap our fingers or we're going to do one thing and that's going to make a change.
Right.
Let me tell you what we've been working on and what we want to continue. We've been meeting for the last several years working on the juvenile system, and we decided to work on the juvenile system because there was some federal laws that mandated keeping track of certain statistics and stuff, and we could see that there was a huge disproportionate number of minority youth in the juvenile system. And so looking at where is that disproportionality coming from? Is it something the police are doing? Is it from who's calling? Is it what happens if it's a child in need of assistance case, when there's a referral to Department of Human Services? And so we've been trying to study exactly what's going on and make some changes in the juvenile system, and we've made some changes that we're seeing some impact. There's still a lot more work to do. There's actually going to be a community forum on May 29th from 2 to 4. I'll just plug this right now. At the Health and Human Services building, so right over here, where we're going to be talking about kind of what things we've been working on, what kind of changes we want to see. We made a concerted effort to start in the juvenile system because, one, if you can keep juveniles out of the criminal justice system as juveniles, they're much less likely to get into it as adults.
Amen.
So starting there with that population is a really good thing.
Yes.
Also, because of, again, being able to collect the data that was federally mandated, it gives us a place to start, because you need to look at what's going on and not just deal with things anecdotally. You really need to take a systematic approach to it and figure out, is the disparity coming from how my office handles cases? Is it coming from the courts? Is it coming from the police? Is it coming from the community? How much of it is related to socioeconomic status? So that we can try to address the different issues. And it's, like I said, it's not a simple thing, but we're working on it. That is one of the big goals that I have in the next term, is to kind of expand what we've been doing, look at it more for the adult system, and apply what we've been learning in the juvenile system to the adult system, and see if we can't make a difference.
Amen.
So I think some of the programs I've started are hopefully having an impact. The marijuana diversion, our rocket docket, our driving into suspension court, all of those things are hopefully keeping people out of the criminal justice system, and it may have an impact on that, but really looking at system-wide, what things do we need to change? So I think everything from, if you look at some of the laws, I think some of the laws need to be changed. We need to talk to the legislature about that.
Because they pass the laws.
Right. Some of the laws that deal, especially like in the federal system, a lot of the drug penalties are higher and have mandatory minimums and things that are higher than what we have for some of the violent crimes. And I think that the legislature needs to change that. So like for domestic abuse in Iowa, it's a 2-day mandatory sentence.
Okay.
For marijuana, it's a 2-day mandatory sentence plus a 30-day license suspension. And I think we need to have the legislature look at kind of what are the priorities. So I think we need to look at everything system-wide, from laws down to how everybody in the system is dealing with racial issues and racial, ethnic, everything, and make sure that we're being fair, uniform across the board. And so it's something I certainly want to continue working on, and is really a major challenge nationwide, but especially here in Johnson County.
Wow. I mean, I'm wow. Thank you for saying that. It put a lot of pressure off me to feel relief that someone's in office that really cares and wants to do something, and not just talk, but actually making a difference by opening these doors for different programs to help people, whether it's kids or adults, the mentally mental issue, because that's a problem in Johnson County. The mental, I see that all the time where I work at. The people with mental needs, whatever, walking around, need help, and you have programs like that to help them to get back on their feet, so they won't be dangerous to themselves or to other people.
Right. That is one of the things that we need to keep working on in the criminal justice system too, is the needs of people with mental illness. It's like when the institutions for mental illness were closed several years ago, or even decades ago, which was a good thing. Unfortunately, the funding for providing the local services didn't come with that. And so people trying to get mental health treatment is often a challenge. I mean, we don't have the same kind of coverage, even in insurance, or haven't until recently, for mental health treatment as people could get for if they broke an arm. So it's kind of like if you need ongoing treatment for certain things, getting it for mental health was often a challenge. And so we constantly are looking, is there adequate funding? Are we making sure that we have the resources? And within Johnson County, like I mentioned, our jail alternative staff, which work with people with mental illness who are involved in the criminal justice system, we try to get them set up with appointments to meet with counselors or meet with doctors, make sure they have medication if that's what they need, all of those things. But there's a lot more that needs to go on, because people who don't have access to mental health resources often end up in the jail because there's no place else for them to go, unfortunately, where they can be safe and the community can be safe. And that's not good. That's not how anybody wants it to work. But we've got to get the funding for treatment and to make sure that we have things. One thing that we're working on locally that we really would like to have implemented, and it's not going to solve everything, but having a mobile crisis team, so that we have people who, when there's a call from somebody who, a family member, somebody who sees a family member who is having a mental health crisis, maybe they're not to the point where they could be committed because they're a danger to themselves or others, or maybe there's not a hospital bed for them to go to, but are there some professionals who could actually work to kind of try to deal with the crisis, get them calmed down enough so that we can get them into some kind of a treatment in the community so that they can set up an appointment for the next day to see somebody. Can they get them their medication that they need? Is there something we can do less than having them committed to the hospital or ending up in jail? Because we certainly have had people who, because they didn't end up in getting the help they needed, ended up in the jail because they were a danger.
Exactly, to themselves and other people, which you're doing a good job with that. Now, okay, now you work with the police department a lot.
That's correct.
And you'll take some of the police department, because I mean, there's some really good officers out there that I want to give a shout out to that are doing a good job, that really care, they're really caring, and really doing the best that they know how. And and I know you really for the police department, so what do you take with the police department as a whole in general?
Yeah, well, there's several law enforcement agencies I work with. So Iowa City Police Department, Coralville Police Department, North Liberty Police Department, University Heights Police Department, Johnson County Sheriff's Office, and the University of Iowa Police Department. All of them, I work with them. I think I have very good relationships with them. Right, I think partially because I did prosecution for so long, so they know that if I have a sex abuse case, I am going to fight, or I'm going to make sure that we are pursuing that, and they respect my opinion from having done this so long when I say, there's nothing here, there's not enough evidence, that they know that I have the experience to say, this is going nowhere. I think it really takes having that experience and working relationship with the police to make sure that we're all working towards the same goal, which is justice, a safe community, welcoming community. And I agree. I mean, I think there's some very good officers who really care about what they're doing, and we want to make sure everybody is keeping in mind what the whole community's needs are. So having that relationship with them, I think it's helpful that they do listen to me. I mean, I'm not the chief of police. I don't get to decide what they do on a day-to-day basis or what their policies are or exactly who they arrest, but I can certainly try to make an influence in terms of let's prioritize. That's right.
You make an impact.
Helping set the priorities. So it's kind of like, let's get everybody together so we're working on this project, whether it's dealing with sexual assault or disproportionate minority contact, or whether it's dealing with, there's a lot of shootings going on. How are we going to try to address this, and how are we going, so whatever the issue is, having that good working relationship does make a difference in terms of how we respond.
Yes, and there was one question I want to ask you that's been on my mind all day, really, about, I don't know, but I've been thinking about it. I said, how can I even ask this question? But I'm just going to say it anyway.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
Okay, that's good. Well,
I just have to throw it out.
My favorite color is red, which being a Democrat running for office may be surprising, but I like the color red. It's bright. I like having, it's kind of a powerful or a bold color.
There it is. Yes, I like that.
So it just happens to be that it's my favorite color.
That's your favorite color?
It has been for a long time.
Yes, and now some people now people know your favorite color. They know you mean you're a powerful woman. You're doing your thing. And they know that you just like everybody else.
That's right.
You have a favorite color.
Right.
And it's red. It is red, and it's a bold color too. It's a bold color now, and I appreciate you. I'm embarrassed, boy. It's a thought popped in my head, and I said I was going to ask you that question though.
Good.
So I have to remember to ask you that though. But okay, we got 2 minutes left, and I was wondering, is there anything you want the viewers to kind of know a little bit about you? You're running for re-election. You're doing a marvelous job for the 8 years you run. I mean, man, we can't. All the questions you asked, you answered, on the show, and I appreciate that. And the viewers know what you stand for. Anything else that you want to say to the viewers, whatever?
I'd just say I do think the county attorney is a very important job.
Yeah.
It's one that people should recognize is, not only is it prosecuting criminal cases, but it's also being the legal representative for the county. So all the boards, commissions for the county, and making sure that we're doing things the way we should be, whether it's open meetings and open records, to enforcing Fair Labor Standards Act to make sure that we're treating people fairly. I think it is a position with a lot of responsibility. The other thing I want people to know is how much I care about this county and about this position. I mean, I've been working in the county attorney's office for 24 years.
Long time.
I actually will have been an attorney for 25 years next month in
Wow.
June. And
You don't look it though.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a place where the county attorney's office is important, and it's important for me personally because I have a daughter who's 16 at City High. She's a sophomore. My husband teaches at the College of Education. We're very involved in this community, and I want to make sure this is a good community,
Yes.
and I want to make sure that the county attorney's office is well represented by the county attorney and making sure that we're enforcing the laws that we need to, making sure we're looking at alternatives if it's appropriate, but also making sure that we're providing good legal representation to the county and that we're doing the best that we can in that office.
Wow, I think you're doing a good job.
Well, thank you.
I think you're doing a good
appreciate it.
job. I'm gonna say it myself. I mean, you answer all the questions. I have no man, and you're a Democrat too. So wow, that's a good thing. So so I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for actually coming on the show too and talking to me. And because I know you're so busy, take time out to talk to me. I'm just a normal guy here doing a talk show.
Well,
and doing your thing. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well,
I
thank
enjoyed
you.
talking to you.
And
very
amen.
much.
And when you truthfully, your programs are good. When you get back in office, whatever down the line, I want you to come back and maybe talk a little bit about how a little bit more about what you've done and all that type of stuff. So you're invited back on the show.
I'd love to do that because
Yes.
one thing I don't do is promote myself very well
Oh,
or
okay.
the programs we have.
Okay.
So I'll take you up on that
Take
offer.
me, that's right.
Okay.
Take me up on the offer, young lady. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I want to, and you want to say shout out to any of your
I want to say shout out to my daughter, Gabrielle.
Gabrielle. Ooh, okay, Gabrielle. Boy, now she knows Mom is here. She's doing her thing. So I just want to say, hey, thank you all for coming on the show, Miss Lyness, and I want to say everybody, vote is coming up. Whether you vote for Miss Lyness or vote for Mr. Zimmerman, whatever, you got to vote your heart. You got to vote your heart. And as you know what she stands for. She's doing her thing. She's been doing it for 8 years. She did a wonderful job in Johnson County. So, I mean, wow. What else can you say? So I want to say, everybody get out there and vote. Don't talk about it, because if you talk about it, you ain't doing nothing. You have to go out there and vote. So vote in June, because it's a wonderful thing and it's an important thing to vote. Vote your heart and your conscience. This is Lyle Style saying, I want to say a shout out to my sweetheart, Kathy. I love you. Thank you for supporting me and being by my side and really being there for me. I love you. Say to my mom, love you, Mom. Thank you for, raising me up. And you're a beautiful person, Mom. I love you. And all the people out there, come and go, all the people out there that watch the show at 5-0s and people that talk to me, whatever, on Facebook. I love y'all. Thank you for watching the show. Keep watching the Lyle Style Show. Next time, we're going to have carriages on the show doing my face. That's going to be a sight. So, till then, keep styling and profiling. I love y'all, and be nice to somebody. Peace.